Alrighty, so question number 1, you're going to have something like this on your test. But on your test, you will have some constant. In this problem, there is no constant. But on your test, there is. Now, you have to only look at what part of the points when you're looking for where is it increasing and where it's decreasing. The X, that's it. So if you want to, we could come here and ignore all the Y values, because believe me, some of you will get confused by them. So hopefully if you don't see them, they're not going to be part of your answer. So we only care about the X. So the question is asking, where is this graph increasing or decreasing? Well, from here to here, what is the graph doing? Increasing. So my answer here should be what? Negative infinity to a negative 8. Union. Then from here to here, what is the graph doing? Decreasing. So that is from a
negative 8 to negative 2.5.
To a negative 2.5. Then from negative 2.5 to here, what's happening?
It's increasing.
It's increasing. So a negative 2.5 to a 2.2.
Miss Pena, is it?
Then from here to here, what's happening? So what numbers would I put? 2, 5, right? And then in the last part, from 5 to infinity to a positive infinity, it is increasing. So on your test, increasing, if you get them all right, that's 3 points. Decreasing is worth 3 points, and constant is worth 3 points. Please remember, constant would be like if the graph from here started going straight this way. Then it's constant from this number on to infinity. It just depends. Or it could have been in between 2 points. So you just need to look and see what the difference there is. Are we good? Okay, so question number 3, we need to do f of g of x and find a domain. So I need to plug this in for who? X in here. So all we do here is just the square root of. Doing this is going to give you 10 points on the test. These are going to be the easiest 20 points that you're going to earn in this question. Now, I still need to find a domain. So you need to graph it. So hopefully you have a calculator. Graph the square root of x plus 5. When we look at the graph, and the graph starts at a negative 1 here, and it goes like this, something like that. So obviously my domain is, it includes negative 1, and it goes on to positive infinity. This here is going to give you 10 points. So if you could do number 1, you could do number 3. That's going to give you already 29 points on the test.
30.
29.
Wait.
59.
This is 10, 10 and 10.
So the first one's how many points?
This is 10 and this is 10. And the first one is 9.
What if you put parentheses?
We're going to take off points. It has to be brackets. Okay, so looking at number 4. Number 4 is going to be a total of 14 points on your test. So when you get a problem like this, what is the first thing you're supposed to do? Make a table. And each table is supposed to start off with what number? 0. So this one starts with a 0, but then it says is everything less than 0. So what numbers are less than 0? Negative 2. And we'll stop at negative 3. So when I look at that question and I see it, and it says it is a negative x plus 2. So what is negative 0 plus 2? 2. What is a negative 1? Oh, just kidding. A negative 1 plus 2. 3. A negative 2 plus 2.
4.
4. and a negative 3 plus 2. 5. So those are my points for right now. So we're going to leave those there. Then let's make a table for the other one. My first number should be a what? 0. It says numbers greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0, but please be careful for this one. And the reason we have to be careful is because we have a square root. We have to we could do the square root of 1, the square root of 4, and the square root of 9, but we can't do the square root of a 5 or 2, so that's why we won't use those numbers. So what is the square root of 0 plus 3?
3.
Square root of 1 plus 3?
4.
Square root of 4 plus 3? 5. And the square root of 9 is 3 plus 3? 6. So now I should be able to graph these. So the first one, 0, 2. Should it be an open or a closed circle for this one?
Open.
Open. At 0, 2, we put an open because it's not equal to. Then I have negative 1, 3. And then I have negative 2, 4. And then if I had chance, it would be negative 3, 5 up here. This line is just a straight line that goes up, and it goes like this. When you do the other line at 0, 3, should it be an open or a closed circle? Closed circle here. 1, 4, 4, 5, which is up here. And then this graph goes like this. So your graph, there should be one open circle, one closed circle. They should not be connected. They should not be connected. So if your graphs are connected, that's already wrong. Once again, that you're doing the graph. In order to do the graph, you have to do the table. That right there is worth 10 points. Now, what is worth 4 points? They may tell you, hey, what is f of a negative 12? Well, looking at a negative 12, does it follow the first or the second scenario? If it's a negative 12.
The second.
The second. So what is negative 12 plus 2? 14. So then that would be your answer. That gives you 4 points. What if I give you f of 16? What does it follow? The second? Square root of 16 plus 3, which is 7. So depending on the problem, they may give you one like this or like this. That is worth 4 points. So are we good with this one?
Yes, ma'am.
So 29 plus 14 is how many points? 39, 40, 43? So for questions from 8, 9, and 10, the one that's going to be similar to the one on your test is number 8. Now in this case, the division part, here they do just want you to divide G over F. But be careful because your test may be F over X. I mean, F over G. So when I look at this, just rewriting it like this is going to give you 5 points. The other 5 points come from understanding what's your domain and range. I mean, not the range, but just your domain. So please graph this problem really quick right now so we could see what it looks like. Even if you already did it, just so it's fresh on your mind right now. So when you look at it, how many parts? There's going to be 3 parts, right? So the domain is going to go from a who to who? -3. Now, if you're not sure why it's a -3, you go to the table, and what do you see next to -3? Undefined. Union with -3 to 3. And once again, you go to your table on 3, you'll see undefined. And the last one is +3 to infinity. So the writing down the domain is going to give you the other 5 points, which gives you 10 points total, and we're up to an 83.
Yeah, we don't have to put the brackets.
If it says undefined, it doesn't include the points, so there better be no brackets. All righty. Are we good? All right, so in this problem, the first thing that you need to do is find the points that are there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The one on your test is already going to have 7. But I need for you to only use 5 because you only have room for 5 on the table. Please make sure you pick 0, 0, 2 to the left, 2 to the right on your test. Now, which are the points here? Negative 4, 0. Negative 2, negative 4. 0, 0. 2, 4. And 4, 0. Now, to make this more like your test, we are going to take away this negative and put the negative in the front because that's where it's going to be on your test. So we're going to put the negative up in the front and we're going to ignore this one. It does not exist. Very good. So let's go ahead and do that part. Put in the bottom. So when you look at that, you already told me f of g is reflected over what axis? X-axis, right? So reflected, the half means shrunk by, it's probably, you should say factor, but I'm not going to have enough room here. Factor of 1/2. This means what? Moves left 2 or 2 units to the left. And the +3 outside means what? Up 3 units to get g of x. This here is worth 5 points on your test. You writing it verbally. So please remember, negative reflection over the x. This means it shrunk. The +2 means it goes left 2. And the +3 means it goes up 3. So there's every little part where it's coming from, just in case. Are we good with that? Now, on top, you have tables. Well, we're going to have to do each time. We're going to reflect one by one, do each little step one at a time. So the first one that we listed was the who? Reflection, right? So let's try to understand what's going on. If I reflect this point, which right now is -2, -4. If I reflect it over the x, where is it going to end up at? At 2, 4. Now, who, -2, 4, sorry. Which is the number that changes, the x or the y? The y changes, right? From negative to positive, positive to negative. So I'm going to put a y here so you know that's the one that's going to change, and hopefully you remember. So the x's all stay the same. That's what you told me. The ones that change are the y's. So that 0 stays as a 0. That -4 becomes a +4. That 0 stays as a 0. But this +4 now becomes a -4. And that 0 stays as 0. So we did the first step. Now, each table is going to be worth 2 points. Getting all the tables right is going to be worth 10 points, the total thing right there. Now, the next thing we said, it is shrunk by 1/2. When we shrink by 1/2, the one that we affect again is the y. So guess what? My x's stay the same again. You're only going to multiply by 1/2 on the y value. So what is 0 times 1/2? What is 1/2 of 4? What is 1/2 of 0? 1/2 of -4 and 1/2 of 0. Okay, good. So we got 6 points so far. The next thing we did was what part? Left 2, right? Left 2. When we move left, so let's say I take this point and I move left, who's changing, the X or the Y? The X. So for this one, and it's the only one where the X changes. So I'm going to rewrite my Y's because those are going to stay the same. So when you are moving left, left means there's a minus, right? You're going into the negative side. What is -4 minus 2? -6. What is -2 minus 2? What is 0 minus 2? What is 2 minus 2? And what is 4 minus 2? 2. So I've just moved everything left 2. The last one we're going to do is going to be, we are moving up 3. When we move up and down, where it's a plus, very good. And who's changing, the X or Y? The Y. So I'm going to rewrite -6, -4, -2, 0, and 2. So if I move up 3, if I add 3 here, it's a 3. If I add 3 here, if I add 3 here, if I add 3 here, and if I add 3 here, 3. This is the complete movement. So once you have this table, the last one, all you have to do is sketch it, because this, they messed up, but it's supposed to say the same thing as the top one. So once you sketch it, you get your 5 points. So this whole question is worth 20 points. So -6, 3, -4, 5, -2, 3, 0, 1, and 2, 3. So my new graph that has reflected over the X, shrunk, moved left and up, now looks like this. So that was 10 points. This is 5 points. The bottom one was 5 points. So this is a total of 20 points. I would get a blank sheet of paper, do little tables, and try to do the movements and understand this. So the only one that's ever going to change the X is going to be the left to right. That's it. All the other ones, the Y's are the one that changes. Are we good?
Yeah.
Awesome. All righty. For number 12, in order to be able to get all 16 points on number 12, you better show everything that needs to be shown. So when you see this, the first thing they're asking you is, can you please find the equation of the inverse? So here is your equation. What's the first thing I need to do to find the inverse of that? So this becomes x equals 2 minus y squared. There's different ways to solve this, maybe like different little choices, but subtracting 2 is correct. After I subtract 2, it's x minus 2 equals to a negative y squared. What should I do next?
Divide by one. -1.
Divide by a -1. So I need to get rid of that -1. So this becomes a positive y squared equals what?
Oh,
Negative x plus 2. And then take the square root of this and the square root of this. So y equals the square root of a negative x plus. So make sure you write it down on the line where it's going to be easy for me. If there's no work, you're not going to get credit for it. There needs to be work. And we've already talked about showing work and how important it is. So that's the first step. The next step, something very important, they give you this. And that helps with the what part? The graphing part. So I'm supposed to make a table, and my first number should be a who? A 0, right? Now I'm going to rewrite the original problem down here only because I won't be scrolling up and down. And the inverse was y equals, just to be on the safe side, just putting them right there. All right. So if it says it is, and it's supposed to be everything less than, right? So x is less than or equal to 0, just to keep that in mind. So when I plug in a 0 here, what is 2 minus 0 squared? 2. Now, which are numbers less than 0? A -1. So 2 minus a -1 squared. What is -1 squared? 1. What is 2 minus 1? 1? Then I have a -2. 2 minus 2 squared. Well, what is -2 squared? 2. What's 2 minus 2?
No, it's 4.
Sorry.
4 and
Oh, yes. Are you sure?
2 squared. -2
4.
squared is what?
Oh, my gosh. So what is 2 minus 4?
-2.
-2. Sorry. And if we did one more, I'm going to squish it in here, a -3. 2 minus a -3 squared. Well, what is -3 squared? What's 2 minus 9? -7. Very good. So we're going to sketch these points. 0, 2. 0, 2, which is right here. -1, 1, which is right there. -2, -2, which is right there. And -3, -7, which is right there. So when I do this, my graph looks something like this. Now, some of you have the tendency of seeing the equation, putting it in your calculator. If you happen to give me the whole parabola, I'm not even going to grade it. It's going to be wrong, even if you got half of it right. They're only asking, and this is why you're supposed to do the table, because it tells you you only graph one part of it, right? That's it. So the easier part here is going to be when you graph the inverse, because all you have to do with that beautiful table is what? Flip it. You don't even have to put it into the equation or anything. So when I graph this one, the inverse, it would be 2, 0, which is this one, 1, -1, 2, -2, and -7, -3. So this graph goes from here to here, something like this. Now keep in mind, any of these graphs, if they are true inverses to each other, they should be reflected over y equals x. And can I reflect it over that dotted line? Yes. So that should tell you, hey, you know what? You did a good job. This is it. Now, the last part to this, to earn the last 4 points, is to make sure you have the right domain and range. Now, the first one is asking, can you please give me the domain to the green line, which is the original problem. So when I look at this, where does this graph start? What is your x value here? 0. Is it going to be a parentheses or a bracket? A bracket. It goes from 0 to who? -infinity. Now, the right way to write this would be -infinity to 0. So the right one is the top one. You always put your smaller number first. So I need to keep that in mind when I do the range. It's coming in from who? What kind of infinity? The -infinity. And where does it stop on the y? 2. So it goes from a -infinity to a 2. The good thing here is that once you do one, the range and domain for the other one is a piece of cake, because all you do is switch them. So this goes from -infinity to 2, and this one goes from a negative infinity to 0. Keep in mind also that those numbers, this was 0, 2, 0, 2. This is 2, 0. That's why it changes to 2, 0. Questions? So this one's a total of 16 points, which brings us to a total of 99. Make sure you spell your name right and you get 100. Okay, we are looking at number 6. It is going to be worth 10 points on your test. You need to not give me more information than what you're asked for. I'm really saying that because if you give me more, it's going to be wrong. Now, right here we test find the numbers where we're talking about a location. And the numbers that give you the location are your x values. X values. So where am I finding a maxima? This is the highest. This is the highest. So where's the location of these things? A -8 and a 2.2. When they say, what is the relative maxima at each location, then we talk about the y, which is 5 and 3.9. And will be better. Comma is going to make it look like a point. So then we're looking for minimum or minima. Once again, number means a location. So we only care about who? X. So what is your X here and your X there? 0.5 and 5. And then the last one, we're looking for the actual numbers, which is a -3.3 and a -2.5. So this here total is worth 10 points.